It was one of those mornings that made even the strongest wish they'd stayed in bed. A gray mist hung low over the city, and the biting wind sliced through thin coats like knives. Commuters hurried along the cracked sidewalks, clutching their coffee cups and tucking their faces into their collars. Daniel Mercer, a 28-year-old mechanic, stood at the bus stop, rubbing his hands together. His jacket, old and patched in several places, barely kept out the cold. He had just finished another long night shift at the auto shop and was waiting for the first morning bus home. He noticed her then, a woman standing a few steps away. She was dressed elegantly but not warmly. A white blouse beneath a blazer, a pencil skirt and high heels entirely unsuited to the freezing wind. Her hair, slightly damp from the mist, clung to her cheeks. She looked utterly out of place among the sleepy laborers and students waiting for the bus. She wasn't scrolling through her phone like everyone else. Instead, she just stared at the street, hugging herself against the cold. Her lips were trembling, and Daniel could see her hands shaking slightly. He hesitated at first. She looked far above his world. Expensive clothes, diamond earrings, that faint scent of designer perfume carried by the wind. But something inside him, a warmth stronger than the cold, pushed him forward. He walked over and said softly, "Hey, you're freezing. Here, take my jacket." The woman looked up, startled. "Oh no, I couldn't possibly—" "Please," Daniel insisted with a small smile. "You'll turn into an icicle before the bus comes. I'm used to this weather." Before she could protest again, he took off his jacket and gently placed it over her shoulders. It was worn and rough, but warm. She looked at him, eyes wide, part gratitude, part disbelief. No one had done something so kind for her in a long time. "Thank you," she murmured, clutching the jacket close. Daniel smiled shyly. "Don't mention it. You can just give it back once we're on the bus." When the bus finally arrived, they both stepped on. Daniel sat near the window, half dozing, while she quietly studied him. His hands were calloused, his eyes tired but gentle. There was an honesty about him, a quiet humility she wasn't used to seeing in the corporate halls where she usually worked. She wanted to say more, but when her stop arrived, she slipped off the bus so quickly that she forgot to return the jacket. And as Daniel watched her disappear into the morning crowd, he sighed. "Well," he chuckled to himself, "guess that jacket's gone for good." He had no idea that this small act of kindness would circle back to him in a way he could never imagine. The woman's name was Evelyn Rhodes, CEO of Rhodes Dynamics, one of the city's top tech firms. She wasn't just successful, she was a legend in her field. The kind of woman who built an empire from a single software patent and became one of the youngest self-made executives in the country. But despite all her success, Evelyn's life was empty. Her days were meetings, contracts, deadlines. Her nights, lonely dinners in a penthouse that overlooked the city lights but felt like a prison. That morning she had left her house without her car or driver. She had wanted for once to be anonymous, to just blend into normal life. But when the temperature dropped and the bus was late, she realized how unprepared she was. Then came Daniel, the mechanic with tired eyes and a kind smile. He'd given up the only thing keeping him warm just so she could be comfortable. Evelyn couldn't stop thinking about it all day. The jacket still smelled faintly of engine oil and coffee, but somehow, it brought her comfort. When her assistant entered her office that afternoon, she was still staring at the jacket draped over her chair. "Ma'am," the assistant said, "we have that meeting with the investors at 2. "Cancel it," Evelyn interrupted softly. The assistant blinked. "Cancel the investor meeting?" "Yes, reschedule it. I need to take care of something important." Evelyn spent the next few hours tracking Daniel down. It wasn't easy. She only knew his first name and that he worked with cars. But after calling several auto shops near that bus route, she finally found him. When she called the shop, the owner said, "Daniel? Yeah, he's one of our best guys. Always helps out anyone in trouble, even customers who can't pay." Her lips curved into a small smile. "That sounds like him." That evening, Evelyn drove to the shop herself. When she arrived, Daniel was still there, bent over an engine, his hands black with grease, humming a tune to himself. She stepped inside quietly, and when he looked up, he froze in surprise. "Miss, you're from the bus stop." She smiled. "Yes, and I still have your jacket." He laughed awkwardly. "Oh, right. Don't worry about it. Honestly, it's not worth much." "It's worth a lot to me," Evelyn said sincerely. "You gave it without expecting anything in return." People don't do that anymore, Daniel shrugged. I just didn't want you to freeze. Guess that's old-fashioned kindness. Evelyn looked at him for a moment, his sincerity, his simplicity, and said something that would change both their lives. I'd like to repay your kindness, but not with money. I want to offer you something more. A week later, Daniel found himself standing in the gleaming lobby of Rhodes Dynamics, feeling completely out of place. He'd never been inside a building so spotless, with glass walls and polished marble floors that reflected everything like mirrors. People in suits hurried past him, glancing curiously at the man in a worn-out leather jacket. Then Evelyn appeared, wearing a professional suit and her confident CEO aura, but her smile was warm, not corporate. Daniel, thank you for coming, she said. Sure, he replied, rubbing the back of his neck. Still not sure what this is all about, though. She gestured toward her office, and once they sat down, she said, I told you I wanted to repay your kindness. Well, I want to offer you a position here. Daniel blinked. A position? I'm a mechanic, not a computer guy. She smiled. That's exactly why. You're honest, hardworking, and you have a way with people. I want you to join our company's maintenance division. Full benefits, good salary, training, everything. Daniel stared at her. You're serious? Completely, she said. I believe that kindness deserves opportunity. Daniel hesitated. He'd spent his whole life working small jobs, living paycheck to paycheck. The thought of working for someone like her, a CEO, felt impossible. But something in her voice told him this wasn't charity. She genuinely believed in him. Finally, he nodded. Okay, I'll do it. Evelyn smiled, relieved. Good. Welcome to Rhodes Dynamics. From that day on, Daniel's life began to change. He worked harder than anyone, learned quickly, and earned the respect of everyone around him. Evelyn would sometimes stop by his department just to talk. Slowly, a quiet friendship grew between them, one built not on status or wealth, but on respect and shared humanity. Months passed. Under Daniel's supervision, the company's maintenance division became one of the best-run departments in the building. Evelyn often found herself smiling whenever she saw him helping others, repairing things himself instead of ordering someone else to. But what she didn't expect was how much he'd come to mean to her personally. One rainy evening, as she left her office late, her car wouldn't start. She sighed in frustration. Of all days, this had to happen today. Then, as if fate had planned it, Daniel appeared from the parking lot, holding an umbrella. Need some help, boss? He teased. Evelyn laughed softly. Seems like I can't escape your kindness. He opened the hood, tinkered for a minute, and the car started immediately. But instead of driving off, Evelyn looked at him and said quietly, You know, I've realized something. What's that? He asked. That morning at the bus stop, you didn't just give me your jacket, she said. You gave me something I'd forgotten existed. Real kindness. You reminded me what it means to care without expecting anything back. Daniel looked down, blushing. Guess it worked both ways. You gave me a chance I never thought I'd get. The rain poured harder, but neither of them moved. Finally, Evelyn stepped closer, smiling. So maybe now it's my turn to offer you something more than a job. He blinked. What do you mean? She looked into his eyes. Dinner. Just dinner. No CEO, no titles. Just two people who met at a bus stop. Daniel chuckled softly. You sure you want to hang out with a guy who smells like engine oil? She laughed. Only if he brings that old jacket. And that night, under the city lights, the man who once offered his jacket to a stranger shared dinner with the woman who turned out to be the CEO who changed his destiny.